Hello guys. I was actually going to upload this video yesterday, but I decided to give myself more time to process everything because this isn't the kind of topic that you rush through because it's quite layered and it's kind of sensitive and it touches multiple groups of people like fans, artists, organizers, and the general public. And again, this video won't have any visuals, just a dark screen and my voice. I might, turn on the screen here and there, but I want to strip away all the distractions and talk, honestly and critically about what happened, why this blew up the way it did, and what it actually means. Okay, and I'm not here to make this more dramatic than it already is. Just want to break it down clearly, calmly, and fairly, which we tend to try to do on this channel. All right, so let's start with the facts. On October 15th, 2025, BTS members RM, JHope, and V attended the 20th anniversary edition of W Korea's LoveYourW breast cancer awareness campaign. It's an annual charity event. Oh, here I might turn on the screen. Okay, so it's an annual charity event. It was first launched in 2006, and it's officially presented as the country's largest breast cancer awareness fundraiser. And according to the magazine's own campaign materials, this is their official website. It was created to encourage early detection and raise social awareness about breast cancer and support women who have limited access to screenings and treatment through donations to the Korean Breast Health Foundation. And over the past 20 years, W Korea reports that the campaign has raised a total of 1.1 billion Korean won and provided screenings for approximately 500 women. And this year's anniversary event took place at the Four Seasons Hotel in Seoul, with a program that mixed a gala dinner and an art collaboration with Swiss artist Ugo Rondinone, this person, and a late night party. And the promotional materials highlighted the stars, the guest list, live performances, and a free-flowing bar, presenting the event as a glamorous celebration with a charity component. So there was also a performance lineup featuring J Park, G Idol or Islet, and Islet, and DJ Hyoyeon from 소녀시대, Girls' Generation, and several others. And the campaign itself included a separate breast cancer screening event in collaboration with a hospital and the Korean Breast Health Foundation, as well as storytelling initiatives that encouraged participants to reflect on women's health and family, according to their website. So the overall goal was, according to W Korea, the magazine, was to combine cultural influence and celebrity power to promote early breast cancer screening and raise awareness. But the event was also branded heavily as a W party, emphasizing the entertainment and fashion aspects just as much, than compared to the cause it was meant to support. And this is the context in which RM, JHope, and V, also along with other celebrities, attended the event. Okay, so it was presented as a high-profile charity gala, but the tone of the evening and how it was later portrayed on social media became the center of a heated public debate / quote-unquote controversy in Korea. And from here, the controversy began to take shape, not over whether the event happened, but rather over how a campaign that claimed to support breast cancer awareness ended up being perceived as a fashion party with very little visible connection to the cause. But before I turn off the screen again, one thing I really enjoyed was the interview with the BTS members held by W Magazine. So the reporter or the staff asked them, "What are your plans for the end of the year?" And RM said, "We're still working on the album, filming the jacket photos, and shooting the music video." And J-Hope says, "Do you want to practice dancing?" And RM said, "I'm practicing dancing. Well, actually, I'll start tomorrow." And JHope was like, really? And RM was, anyway, please look forward to it at the end of March next year. So for the first time, BTS, gave us a specific month, right? March, because beforehand they simply said next spring, 내년봄. But here, it's clear that they're trying to aim for the end of March in terms of their comeback date. But of course, even though this came directly out of RM's mouth, it's not official. And I think it's safe to say that that's their vision, that's their ambition, and deadline, or before it gets announced, it could be postponed, right, or delayed. All right, so let me read you. So overall, the vibe was good, lighthearted. There were a lot of celebrities, and BTS guys also had fun, right? Looking at their W Magazine's social media website. Let me show you this also. So yeah, there are a lot of celebrity-related photos and clips and videos from that night. All right, now let me read you an article, a Korean article that came out yesterday, titled, Inviting Celebrities for Drinks and Partying, Breast Cancer Charity Event Sparks Controversy. Okay? And this sounds like other Korean articles that came out on the same day. Okay? Criticism has erupted over a charity event hosted annually by the Korean fashion magazine Wkorea, aimed at raising breast cancer awareness. The event is being slammed for focusing less on its stated cause and more on partying with celebrities and influencers, with many pointing to inappropriate performances and an overall lack of campaign messaging. And here's a photo that they attached, included in this article. So, a photo of celebrities, including RM, like drinking wine at a dinner table. And the article goes, on October 15th, Wkorea held its 2025 LoveYourW Breast Cancer Awareness Campaign event at the Four Seasons Hotel in Chongno, Seoul. Wkorea, the Korean licensee of the U.S. fashion magazine W, founded in 1972, has hosted this charity event every year since 2006 to promote early detection and awareness of breast cancer. This year marked the 20th anniversary of the event, drawing star-studded attention with attendees including BTS members V and RM, JHope, Big Bang's Taeyang, Karina of aespa, IVE member Chang Won-young and An Yoo-jin, and actors Byun Yoo-seok and Chung Hae-in, and others. After the event, Wkorea's official social media accounts were filled with photos and videos showing celebrities holding drinks, mingling, enjoying music, and participating in trendy social media challenges. But many viewers were quick to point out that nothing in these posts reflected the original purpose of the campaign, that is, promoting early detection and awareness of breast cancer. According to the article, one breast cancer patient wrote, I wonder if any of the attendees even looked up the word breast cancer. To us, it feels like mockery. Another commenter said, if you're just going to throw a party, then take the word breast cancer out of it. As someone who lost a family member to breast cancer, seeing people drinking and watching a body performance was offensive. Here at Party, they're referring to the song title 몸매, which Park Jae-bum performed. We will discuss later. Comments poured in online, including, this doesn't look like an event that helps raise awareness. Alcohol is one of the worst things for breast cancer, so how does drinking and partying make sense? And this feels more like a celebrity networking party with breast cancer slapped on the label. Another commenter pointed out, even survivors can't drink after recovery, and many can't wear outfits like those after surgery. There wasn't even a single pink ribbon or item, which is the international symbol of breast cancer awareness. For those of you who don't know, pink ribbon, breast cancer. Yeah, there we go. So that's what the comment referred to. Who exactly is this charity event for? The article explains. Pink ribbons and pink-themed dress codes are standard at breast cancer charity events abroad. But attendees noted these were virtually non-existent at this. But attendees that were noted. So these were virtually non-existent at this year's event. Adding fuel to the fire, the total amount WKorea has donated to the Korea Breast Health Foundation over 20 years amounts to about 1.1 billion Korean won, which is around 55 million Korean won per year, which many criticize as too little for an event of this scale. For comparison, the Pink Run, a public charity run event organized by the Korea Breast Health Foundation, has raised 4.2 billion Korean won over 24 years, far surpassing WKorea's donation. The biggest flashpoint came from rapper JHope's performance. He performed his 2015 track 몸매, which roughly translates to body, which is a song that explicitly describes and sexualizes women's bodies, including references to breast. So I'm, reading the article. And sample lyrics include, to be translated, I don't know what we are, but I want to be introduced to the twins hanging from your chest. Twins, I want to give it to me. Now, funny thing is, I have listened to this track before, but I've never realized that, there were lyrics like that. So it was kind of interesting. This drew immediate backlash for being blatantly at odds with the purpose of a breast cancer awareness campaign. As the controversy grew, JHope posted an apology on social media the following day, saying, "After the official breast cancer campaign event ended, I understood the party and performance as something meant for the people who had taken time out of their busy schedules to gather with good intentions. So I performed just like I normally would. If any cancer patients who were there felt uncomfortable or upset by my performance, I sincerely apologize. I wish you good health and strength. Even though I'm injured, I performed with a sincere heart and without pay. Please don't twist or take advantage of that good intention." And yeah, he hurt his foot, I think. And then he added, "And to be clear, when I said don't take advantage, it was directed at those trying to turn something done with good intentions into an issue. Please don't misunderstand." WKorea quietly deleted footage of JHope's performance, but offered no official comments other than stating that it was unable to respond to questions about the issue. Okay, so that was an article. And there are more articles coming out of Korean media today on October 17th, 2 days after the actual event. So I think the controversy surrounding this whole case, the WKorea breast cancer charity event, it boils down to one thing, like the gap between what the event claims to stand for and what actually happened that night, right? Because the campaign itself has a long history, according to WKorea. It's been running since 2006 to promote early breast cancer detection and awareness. But this year, 2005, the public paid attention to the party, right? Photos and videos from the event showed celebrities drinking, chatting, and doing social media challenges. And although for fans of these celebrities, it might be very enjoyable to watch them have fun, the public who doesn't care about them might think otherwise, because there was no visible emphasis on breast cancer, no pink ribbons, no awareness messaging, nothing that resembled the tone of a charity event. Now, so from the critic side, especially the patients who are either going through breast cancer or who have survived, the frustration could feel deeply personal, because breast cancer isn't a marketing prop. It's something that people fight for their lives over. And seeing influencers and celebrities drink champagne at an event supposedly dedicated to a disease awareness that has taken loved ones away naturally could hit a nerve, But I guess from the organizer's perspective, so here where here's where I'm trying to have a multidimensional discussion, right? From the organizer's perspective, they might argue that awareness doesn't always have to look like solemn, and celebrity appearances can drive massive visibility, right? And if someone who follows a star, an artist, ends up learning about early screening because of this event, that's still a form of impact. Although I gotta be honest, initially when I first saw all these photos and videos, and especially BTS members, I had no idea that this was about breast cancer awareness. I thought it was about like a fashion related event. So it wasn't actually because of the gala event itself that I got to learn more about breast cancer and these charity events, but because of the fact that this became a quote unquote controversy. You know what I'm saying? So that was also interesting for me personally. And also, the organizer might also point out that J Park's performance happened at the after party, not during the official campaign segment. So, in their eyes, from their perspective, they were hosting a social gathering that included fundraising and not, a formal medical conference. Exactly. To be exact. Now, for the artists and celebrities, the situation could be complicated too. Why? Because many of them probably showed up to support a cause, not to disrespect it. And they might not have been fully aware of how sensitive the optics could be or how their presence might be interpreted by patients and families watching from the outside. And at the same time, there are, clear shortcomings that cannot be ignored. And this is something that was interesting for me after, taking some more time to analyze this issue. Because, an awareness campaign with no visible awareness messaging is a missed opportunity, to say the least. So if you're going to use a disease as a centerpiece of the event, it needs to be unmistakably tied to the cause. Pink ribbons, that could be an example. Or people should be able to hear like survivor stories and feel like their attendance is doing something real. Now, the reactions online are very different emotions. So I've been reading online comments and social media posts posted on X, Twitter, and stuff. Some people are furious at the event organizers. They point out that the campaign raised only 1.1 billion Korean won over 20 years, which seems ridiculously low from their perspective, considering how many famous names have lent their faces to it. So one commenter noted that individual celebrities like BTS members have donated far more on their own than the campaign has raised in 2 decades. And that gap makes the whole event feel like a hollow PR stunt, so to say. Then there's a strong, wave of frustration directed at the way the public is handling this. Because many people are calling out what they see as misdirected rage. Instead of criticizing the organizers who structured and branded the event, a lot of people are piling on to the celebrities who attended. And some fans argue that idols are being unfairly villainized simply for showing up. For example, here's a comment that I'm seeing. Can we direct the anger at the organizers for once? I'm so sick of people randomly glorifying or tearing down idols whenever they feel like it. They donate tens of billions every year to different causes, but if people don't see it themselves, they act like nothing is being done. Stop beating down idols. Go after the organizers. And then one person pointed out that BTS, who have consistently donated to hospitals and supported women's causes, is somehow taking the biggest hit online, as if they planned and hosted the event themselves. On the other side, some fans are genuinely disappointed by saying, I honestly don't understand why they participated in such a crappy event, but they do need to take some responsibility for the backlash they're getting. I really hope they avoid places like that next time and be more careful about the people they associate with. Please surround yourselves with better people. Someone else wrote, why even go to a party like that? Why mingle when you have already got the closest people around you? Yesterday's party was the start of chaos. Just go on live more often, please. I'm seriously losing it. So these are the all Korean comments that I've translated into English. And they're not necessarily denying that the organizers are at fault, but they feel like their favorite celebrities should be more discerning about where they appear. So to them, to these people, showing up at an event that was so poorly framed is a form of endorsement, at least indirectly. That's how I interpreted it. And the hurt here could feel personal. It's less about accountability and more about emotional expectations. There's also a more pragmatic voice running through these reactions. A few people remind others that idols often have limited control over event attendance. And when you're under contract with a brand, if they send you to an event, you go. They explain, and refusing isn't always an option. So this perspective, I guess, tries to shift the focus back toward structural issues rather than individual blame. So yeah, a different thread comes from those who've been aware of this event for years. And they point out that it's always been more like a fancy party than a charity campaign. And in the past, at least some breast cancer awareness elements were present, but they have faded to the point where this year it just looked like a celebrity cocktail night. And they say that the outrage didn't come out of nowhere. It built up quietly over years, and this time it finally spilled over. And of course, mixed into all of this are fandom wars. Typical K-pop behaviors phenomenon. Some people accuse certain fandoms of only speaking up now because their own idol wasn't involved this year. And others are using the controversy to attack rival groups rather than actually discussing breast cancer or the event itself. So it's total chaos. It's a very familiar pattern in K-pop conversation, right? Real issues get swallowed by fan politics. And when you look at all these reactions together, different reactions together, they show a fragmented conversation. One group is angry at the system, another is defending their idol, some are disappointed by their idols but not angry, but others are trying to be pragmatic, and a whole lot of noise is coming from fan rivalries that have nothing to do with the original issue. So I think the real tension here is between structural accountability and personal responsibility, because yeah, after digesting, the issue more carefully, I think the event was poorly designed. I think we can say that because it failed to communicate a clear cause. And because of that vacuum, the conversation shifted to who was in the room instead of why the event failed. And I think it's easier for people to point fingers at visible faces, celebrities and artists, than to dissect how a long-running charity campaign can lose its purpose over time. So, yeah, this quote-unquote controversy is more about how celebrity branding and fan culture and cost marketing could collide, and how quickly the message can get buried under the noise. And again, what's happening online, and I think currently it's happening more in the Korean online space rather than international space. But what's happening isn't just people being upset. It's more layered, and it's a very messy argument where multiple issues are getting tangled together. So if we break it down carefully, we can see, I think, 4 big threads running underneath. Fandom behavior, celebrity responsibility, and organizer accountability, and how causes could be marketed through entertainment. So first, about fandom dynamics. It's clearly shaping the tone of this controversy, especially on social media like X. A lot of these comments don't even talk about breast cancer itself. They're about who's being blamed. Some fans are clearly weaponizing this moment to attack rival fandoms, or some solo fans, for example, some BTS solo fans are weaponizing this to attack other members, which I really regret. And they're bringing years of some people are bringing years of quiet resentment to the surface. And other fans are defending their idols, pointing out that the organizers, not the celebrities, are the ones who set the tone and structure of the event. That's why the criticism feels so chaotic. People aren't just talking about the event, they're fighting old battles. Then there's celebrity responsibility. Because idols, like I said, exist in a tricky space where their faces are everywhere, but their choices often aren't fully their own. Many of them are sent to these kinds of events through brand contracts, not personal decisions. But fans and the public often interpreted attendance as endorsement because celebrities carry symbolic weight. That's why someone like BTS ends up being treated online as if they hosted the whole thing himself, especially because our leader, BTS leader, RM, in many of the articles that are being written online as at the front page of the table. So that's too unfortunate. And people project expectations onto visible figures, especially when the actual organizers stay quiet. Wkorea. Now, what about organizer accountability? I think that's the most obvious, but also the quietest part of this conversation. The event has been going on for 2 decades, right? And the core structure hasn't changed much, according to a lot of people. And there's a long standing mismatch between its branding as a breast cancer awareness campaign and its execution as a social party. And because the messaging is so weak, it creates this vacuum. And there, that vacuum, blame shifts to whoever's most visible. Again, celebrities. That's why so many comments say, why are we yelling at idols instead of at the organizers? And I think there's also a larger question about how social issues get commercialized, because this is a textbook example of cost marketing gone wrong. It was supposed to be about awareness, but over time, the party aspect swallowed the purpose. And, once the pink ribbons and public health messaging disappeared, all that was left was glamour and networking. And when the cause got buried like that, the public reacts, not just to the event, but to the idea of celebrities having fun as something labeled charity. Although, we have to be, some people might rant just for the sake of ranting. That's also true, which happens all the time. But what makes this even more complicated is a gendered undertone in a lot of reactions. Because some comments reveal how quickly discourse shifts from criticizing structure to shaming individual women for existing in their own bodies. So instead of focusing on the fact that the campaign itself was poorly executed, parts of the conversation turned into misogynistic attacks, which shows how online outrage can be easily derailed. So there's, again, super chaotic in terms of what's going on right now. So I believe that a real meaningful discussion has to sit with all of those layers at once, which is what many of my subscribers are good at, having this meaningful and multi-layered conversation. And a lot of times when something becomes a controversy in Korea, it feels exaggerated or completely blown out of proportion, right? Especially online. Because, and this is something that we have discussed again and again, people latch onto something small and turn it into a full-blown scandal, often more about attacking someone than actually talk about the issue itself. But I feel like this situation is a bit different because it's not just noise. There are real questions here about how cause-related events could be handled and how celebrity image is used and how accountability gets blurred. And the problem isn't that people are talking about it. The problem is that so many people are talking past each other. You know what I'm saying? Some people are just looking for a target to unload their anger on. while other people are genuinely trying to address the event's structural flaws. And that's why discussion, not escalation, matters here. If people could separate their personal biases from the core issue, it will be possible to talk about things that actually need fixing, like how the event was organized, what the role of celebrities should be, and how fandom conversation can amplify or distort everything. So, yeah, what usually happens in Korea, and honestly everywhere online, is that criticism quickly turns into personal attacks. But I think this one is layered enough to actually deserve a conversation, which is why I decided to take half more day, a few more hours to make this video. Because some people are overreacting, but not everyone is overreacting. And some are raising good points. Some people are raising good points that should be heard. It's just that those points are getting buried under all the noise. But at the same time, you know what really frustrates me about all of this? Especially as a BTS fan, it's not even just the controversy itself, but I can talk about the event, the structure, the messaging, all of that. But the moment something even slightly negative gets attached to BTS name, certain corners of the internet and social media just jump. Because some people act like, and here I'm majorly talking about Korean comments and Korean fans. Some people act like they've been waiting for this. Like suddenly you see tweets that start with, "I've supported them for so long, but I'm so disappointed." Or "I didn't expect this from him or from them." And you can tell right away that some of those aren't genuine reactions. Some people are antis pretending to be fans, which I have talked about before. And others are just people who wanted an excuse to vent whatever they've been holding in. Again, what I want to have is a real discussion about what this event was, how this event was structured, right? And why it failed to show any real breast cancer awareness. And how the organizers clearly leaned on celebrity branding instead of substance. But instead of that conversation, everything gets twisted into BTS should have done this, BTS should have done that, or this member messed up, or I expected more. And this is the same pattern every single time. It doesn't matter how small the issue is. The noise builds fast because it's BTS. Other celebrities can go to the same event without getting dragged like this, although I think their fans might feel like their artists are getting the most hits. So it's all about the perspective. But because BTS name carries weight, I think the reaction always explodes. And honestly, some of the takes that I have seen online on Twitter aren't coming from a place of good faith either, because they're not about awareness of charity. They're about tearing down, and it could be exhausting to see how quickly the actual issue disappears under waves of people pointing fingers at individuals instead of holding the organizers accountable. And I'm not necessarily saying that fans cannot feel disappointed. That could be fair, but there's a difference between disappointment and weaponizing a situation to attack someone. And right now, a lot of what's out there feels like the second one. And this is why I keep saying discussion matters more than outrage. If we actually talk about why the event was so poorly structured, if we talk about how celebrity appearances are used in campaigns like this, then maybe something productive can come out of it. But if everyone just throws around, "I'm disappointed," like it's a gotcha line, nothing meaningful happens. Now, what do you think about the organizers? So if the organizers actually want to avoid the same mess next year, they need to change both the format and the communication strategy from the ground up. You might not care, but I thought this was a fascinating issue as well, because from the organizer side, the first thing they need to do is make the cause impossible to miss. and that means visible awareness messaging. Pink ribbons, that could be a low-hanging fruit. And survivor stories. There are actually quite a lot of celebrities who survive from breast cancer or just cancer in general. And there could be donation booths and campaign visuals and educational content. Something tangible that reminds everyone why they are there. It can still be a glamorous event. After all, the concept is a fundraising gala, right? But the awareness part has to be at the core, not just tacked on as a line in the press release or something. And if people can look at a photo from the event and immediately tell that it's for breast cancer awareness, half of this controversy wouldn't have happened. For example, I don't know, maybe they could have like created logo, breast cancer awareness logo, and then attached to every footage on their social media. That could be an option. And also, they need transparency, right? If they're going to use celebrity power to promote a cause, they should also be ready to show impact. How much money was raised, where it goes, what specific programs it supports, and even a simple infographic or press release the next day would make a big difference. And when the donation number looks small compared to the scale of the event, silence could only fuel suspicion. Also, the event needs content guidelines. That means vetting performances and set lists. If it's a breast cancer awareness campaign, having someone perform a song that some people might interpret as sexualizing women is quite careless. So they should have a basic standard for what fits the tone of the event. And lastly, like I said, they should involve patients or survivors or advocacy groups directly. Like, let survivors speak and let advocates have space on stage, or include a panel element. Some people might say that, oh, but that's too boring. But it's up to the organizers, who can think outside the box to make the event still entertaining and not boring, even if they involve, these basic elements involving patients, advocacy groups, and survivors. And because that way, that could instantly add substance and make it harder for the event to feel like a party that's only using a cause as decoration. Now, another interesting discussion we can have is about the idol and agency side, because this is a little trickier because they often don't have full control. Although I would say HYBE relatively could have more voice in it, but still. But there are still smart ways to handle it, I think. If an idol is sent to a campaign event, their agency should check what kind of event it actually is, and what the format is, and what is being communicated, and what other names are attached. Now, if the event seems kind of sketchy and more like a party than a cause, they should consider declining or negotiating terms of participation. And if declining isn't an option, they can still shape their own messaging. I think that could be a good middle ground. For example, posting something on their own channels that clearly acknowledges the cause. Something as simple as, let's keep talking about breast cancer awareness. That could help separate their image from the party optics. Maybe some celebrities already did that. Maybe I just missed. And maybe the only photos and clips I've been seeing are just party related. But I think such small move can completely shift how fans interpreted their attendance. So I think basically the responsibility should be shared. Organizers need to build events that actually do the work of advocacy, and agencies need to be more strategic about how their artists are positioned in those spaces, because that's the only way to avoid these shallow, chaotic backlashes and witch hunting every time a cause gets mixed with celebrity culture. But this time, as always, let me open up to you. What do you think a charity event with celebrities should look like if it's truly meant to raise awareness not just be a party. Oh, speaking of which, before we wrap and before I throw more questions at you, let me share with you one more article that shares a different perspective, titled "Party Looks, Wine Glasses, and People Unaware of the Pink Ribbon at a Breast Cancer Event." Right here. Shirley Temple's bold confession, a turning point in history. In February 1972, America's beloved child star Shirley Temple called reporters to her hospital room at Stanford University School of Medicine. She revealed she had undergone a mastectomy on her left breast and said, "If you feel something, see a doctor right away. There's nothing to be ashamed of." The New York Times and mastectomy, surgical removal of one or both breasts, usually performed to treat or prevent breast cancer. See, I'm learning thanks to this quote-unquote controversy. The New York Times and Associated Press called it a historic turning point in health communication. At the time, it was a revolutionary statement. Society viewed breast cancer patients with stigma more frightening to many women than losing a part of their femininity itself. 2 years after Temple broke the taboo, Shirley Temple, Betty Ford, wife of U.S. President Gerald Ford, stood before the media and revealed that she also had undergone a mastectomy. "Don't just live in fear," she urged, calling on women to get regular checkups. Her courageous appeal resonated far beyond the United States. More women began visiting hospitals, and awareness grew that early detection saves lives, a shift known as the Betty Ford effect. Interesting, Betty Ford effect. Let me Google it. I don't necessarily see a Betty Ford effect, but anyways, how about Wikipedia? Okay, maybe that journalist just gave a name to it. Then came Ingrid Bergman, the timeless Hollywood star of Casablanca, classic movie. After her breast cancer surgery in 1973, and despite a recurrence, she continued acting until her death on her 67th birthday in 1982. Even in pain from cancer that had spread throughout her body, she maintained her dignity to the end. Their collective courage led American Cancer Society and AstraZeneca to designate October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in 1985. When I studied abroad in the States, our schools had always celebrated Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I remember clearly how the events could take place, right? The birth of the pink ribbon. In 1991, philanthropist Charlotte Haley began handing out peach-colored ribbons to raise funds for breast cancer research. A year later, Evelyn Lauder, daughter-in-law of the founder of the Estee Lauder, turned the ribbon pink, transforming storefronts around the world into a sea of pink. A breast cancer survivor herself, she founded Breast Cancer Research Foundation, making the pink ribbon a global symbol of women's solidarity. Every October, cities and beauty stores around the world light up in pink. This color was born from the courage of a child star, a first lady, a Hollywood icon, a philanthropist, and global companies joining hands. Over 4 decades, women have written another chapter in the history of progress through the fight against breast cancer. But a recent breast cancer awareness event hosted by a fashion magazine left many people with a sense of discomfort. Celebrities posed with wine glasses in hand, wearing revealing party outfits, taking cheerful selfies, and posting them on social media. Reports say that there wasn't a single pink ribbon to be seen at the venue, all while a song with the line, "The twin sisters on your chest," played in the background. Poor Jay Park. Although you might criticize him as hard as you can, but sorry for laughing at that. Again, I didn't know that. I have listened to that song before, but I didn't know that such lyrics existed. So, for breast cancer patients, even after treatment, drinking is often not an option. The article says many cannot imagine wearing such outfits, regardless of advances in reconstructive surgery. While the event may have been well intentioned, it failed to reflect the reality of patients enduring harsh treatments or living with fear of recurrence. The blame doesn't lie with celebrities who likely attended without much thought. Realistically, how many people truly know the struggle and history behind the pink ribbon? Hopefully, this incident will remind us of Shirley Temple stepping out of that silent hospital room and lead people to reflect on what the pink ribbon truly stands for. Yeah, the reason why I decided to share this article at the end is because even though it talks about the recent events, it decides to share a historical context and more information. So I think this was one of the most balanced takes on this issue from the Korean media. And again, at first, I thought this was another case of Korean media and haters amplifying the issue, and there are some elements of that, true. But again, there are some elements that are worth discussing in depth, which is why I decided to make a video about. Okay, and here are more questions for you. When celebrities attend these kinds of events, how much responsibility should they personally hold for the tone or messaging of the event? And if the organizers are clearly at fault, why do you think so much of the backlash still ends up landing on the idols themselves? Again, we have talked about it in this video, but I wanted to ask you too. And how can fans themselves respond in ways that encourage better discussions instead of turning everything into fan wars or blame games? For me, my option was to make a video like this that you're watching. And if you were part of the planning team behind this event, what would you change first about how this event was run? Or if you were to make an event, the exact same event for next year. Leave your all thoughts in the comment section. I know how great and considerate and balanced you guys are. Many of my subscribers, when you guys comment, right? I know many of you write essay length comments, which I really appreciate. So let's have a balanced, multi-dimensional conversations as usual, right? And as always, let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Peace and love. Bye-bye.